a money coach, can I just ask, what does financial independence actually mean to you?
So I think that kind of is financial independence. It's not having to do something, doing something by choice. And D is, what are your dreams and what are your drivers? So what do you want the rest of your life to look like, and why are those things important to you?
What would you say to those people, those business owners that think that they're okay because their business is going to look after them in the future?
Which is a sort of a mini version that really focuses on debt consolidation and budgeting and what have you. Or there's my main proposition, which is the financial health check.
Welcome, I'm Tracy Irwin and I'm passionate about financial independence and wanted to share stories of inspiring entrepreneurs to prove it's possible for everyone to strive towards financial freedom. Today, I'm talking to David Hall. He's a money coach. He's married with 5 boys between the ages of 30 and 42. He's got one granddaughter and he lives in the UK on the south coast, but he also has a place in Calp, which is near me, so we'll talk about that later. He's addicted to paddle tennis and he loves helping people get clarity around their finances years after he's been an IFA. So, welcome, David. Thank you for joining me.
Good morning and nice to see you again.
Yes, it is. It's like I feel like our paths crossed. Like it was serendipity, wasn't it? Because we were on an online event from a Scottish networking, which neither of them in
Yeah,
Scotland.
no, yeah, all very random really, but when you're growing a business, you attend these events, and when they're online, it doesn't matter where you are.
Yeah.
And we were thrown into a room together for sort of a 5 minute sort of one-on-one, and then it very quickly came out that you lived up the road from where I have a place in Spain. So, and we work in very similar fields, and there's a lot of synergy between what we do. Synergy, not competition.
Yeah.
And so it was a very neat and obvious fit to sort of, explore and expand on how we could help each other.
It was really nice because I remember coming into that meeting and you had money coach written on your tagline and I had finance mentor written on mine. I was like, "Oh, please let me get him, please. I want to know what he does." And he was like,
Yeah.
I think there's so many different things in our industry that people do to help business owners that it's great that. And it was just so funny though when you were like, I just need to ask, where in Spain are you? And I was like, oh, you probably won't have heard of it. It's Altea Lavella. And you was like, oh yeah, I've got a home in Calp. I was like, what? So yeah, we've also met in person as well now, haven't we? Which has been really
Yeah, we have, and I know it particularly because, and we've got paddle into the conversation very early on. I can
nice.
always fit it in somewhere, but one of the courts that I go and play at when I'm in Spain, I drive through your village
Oh,
to
my
get
village,
to.
yeah.
So, so I know I knew exactly where you were. Lots of people might have heard of Altea, but not Altea Vella. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew exactly. And in fact, when we met a couple of weeks ago, we went for dinner. I'd been to that restaurant before with my wife on our way back from playing paddle once. So, it's a small world.
It is. What is it about paddle tennis then that you like? Let's talk about that for you.
Oh, okay. Well, it's addictive, so that comes with a strong warning to anyone who's thinking about playing it. It's the fastest growing sport in Europe. Um, it's massive here in the UK now, and just growing and growing. And it's great fun. You can play with any ages. I play with my main sort of paddle partner is 20, and I play with guys that are in their 70s, particularly in Spain. I mean, two of the guys I play with in Spain are mid 70s,
Wow.
and so it's very a broad horizon. You can play with any ages, mixed. Male, female. I play with my wife quite a lot, and it's just great fun. It's good for fitness. Um, not many people can still play a reasonable game of tennis into their 70s, but you can play paddle. So I think that's helpful for an older generation. And the kids are starting to play too. So it's only going to go in one direction, really. I think once the schools start playing, I think they probably do in Spain, but once the schools in the UK latch onto it, then it will just, go from strength to strength, really.
Interesting. So, and for clarity, by the way, both of us are in England right now, aren't we? Just
Yeah, we are, which you can tell from,
well, it's
our
yeah,
clothing.
but what we're wearing mostly.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so as a money coach, can I just ask, what does financial independence actually mean to you?
Okay, so there's I think I'd like to answer that in or two parts of that question really. One is as a money coach, the big difference is between me and a independent or then a financial advisor is that I don't sell products. So I think that's a really important point to make. So I just help people make good decisions around money. Financial independence, I suppose, is something that I help clients with a lot. It's uh, when they are financially able to retire,
Yeah.
whether they retire or not is irrelevant. So it's just having the financial ability that they don't need to work. Um, and some people will give up the minute they achieve that and fully retire, but other people don't. And I suppose I'm a prime example of that. I sold a business probably 5 years ago now. Technically, I could have afforded to retire at that point, albeit on a modest income, but
Yeah.
nonetheless, that would have been sustainable and I could have done that. But I chose not to. Why would I retire? I still had a lot of energy and love what I do and enjoy the work that I do. So, and even now, when I sort of review it every now and again, I don't want to retire. I'm 61 now, but I absolutely love what I do, helping other people to sort of achieve financial independence.
Yeah.
And therefore, why would I want to stop? It's a job that I can do, from almost anywhere in the world. I can. The only difference is time zones.
Yes.
A lot of what I do is online. So it gives me a very flexible, varied lifestyle, doing something that I love. So, why would I retire? So I think that kind of is financial independence. It's not having to do something, doing something by choice.
It is choices,
When,
isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
Just so we can talk about when people actually start to look at this, can you just tell everybody actually how you help move that needle and like what we've discussed about how you physically help people to understand that, just so that I can ask a better question?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think the thing is that most people don't really understand what their existing financial position is and what it means, more importantly. So, there are two things that I work through, or two processes really that I work through with clients. I have a process which I developed. In fact, I created it on the balcony of my apartment in Spain, probably 6 or 7 years ago now. And it's very simple. When you draw a line down the middle of a piece of paper and you draw a line across the middle, you've got four quadrants: A, B, C, D. A is where are you at? That's factual. That's what your existing assets are. Just make a note of them in terms of value. And when I'm digging down, I really kind of want to know where they're invested. So what charges are being applied, and also want to look at what risk people are taking. But it within the A portion of the quadrants, um, we can also include things that might come in the future. So if there's a second property to be sold, or if there's a business to be sold, an inheritance, whatever it might be. So we can look at what you've got at the moment. We can take into account contributions that are ongoing. So if you're making regular contributions to pensions or ISAs, we take that into account, but also anything that might happen in the future, which we take into account. And then we look, B is where do you want to be? So how much do you want per month? From when? So if we take a typical scenario of someone saying, okay, right, well, I want £5,000 a month from the age of 65, then my job is to see how closely A aligns to B. So, how do you get from A to B? And I use some great software, which fundamentally will show you in graphical terms where you sit within that. So most people are either going to have more than enough, their assets are going to keep growing, they're not spending as much as they could do. That's a nice problem to have, and we can
Nice
talk
problem,
about
yeah.
how we can reduce that. Or the other outcome is that people are going to have nowhere near enough. The money's going to run out. And what I always say to clients is, don't run out of money at 72. if you're going to die at 90. That's not a great strategy.
No.
And the fact of the matter is that most people don't know whether they're there or there. And my job really is to, if we agree that there, that is a flat line, that is money never running out, but that can be you know, aligned to you, to your individual requirements. So, you know, let's say someone who wants £5,000 a month from 65, but the reality is most people will spend more money between 65 and 75 than they will between 75 and 90. So
Okay.
it might include different spending habits, for example. And so, but the flat line is where you really want to be. Um, and my job is to help you to get, in most cases, from there to there.
Yeah.
Okay. And the first part of the process is that people have got no idea, no matter how much money they've got, in my
I
experience,
agree.
got no idea whether their projections look like that or like that. And so the first thing that I do is provide clarity for people to see where they sit, where their trajectory is. And just to square the circle, see part of my process is what do you consistently need to do to improve your situation?
Yeah.
And also, it covers what are your challenges. So, what's going to stop you from getting from A to B? And what changes do you need to make to help you to get from A to B? And D is what are your dreams and what are your drivers? So, what do you want the rest of your life to look like, and why are those things important to you? And often, when you dig down a little bit deeper, there are some real sort of deep-rooted beliefs and reasons why things are important to you. Um, you know, it might be someone's dream to always have that bolt hole in Spain, for example,
Yeah.
or you know, living in the sunshine in the winter because you suffer from the cold, or whatever it might be, or it might be, you know, I have a great process which I use with my clients, and I've got a meeting later today, and I send off some questions for them to answer, which helps them to get to the real D, you know, dreams and drivers.
Are you working harder than ever, but feeling like you're getting nowhere? You're not alone. Most business owners I speak to feel trapped in their own success, working 60 hours plus a week, missing family time, and honestly, they're not even sure why they feel so stuck. They just know something needs to change. If this sounds familiar, I've created a quick quiz to help you find out why you feel stuck in your business. It takes only 2 minutes, and I give you clarity on exactly what's keeping you trapped, and more importantly, how to break free. The link's in the description, so why not take it now?
And, you know, I was just reading one this morning that came back in, and, you know, it's just a long bucket list, really. And the thing is with that process, we can start with any of those quadrants, A, B, C, or D. And sometimes people know exactly what their dreams and drivers are, and they're very clear on that, and other people haven't got a clue.
Okay.
So working through that whole process will show what's possible, give clarity and confidence around where people are, and then a real meaningful action list of things that people can do to improve their situation.
Yeah, definitely. I think the knowledge is it, isn't it? It's like I think people are scared sometimes
Yeah.
to actually take that first step forward because I think they're scared that they don't have
They,
enough, but actually they just don't know. That's the truth, isn't it? They physically
the,
don't know.
Absolutely. The perception is that they don't have enough, and they're scared that they don't. So they bury their head in the sand. You know, I've had clients, you know, it's not unusual for clients to be very emotional when I
Yeah,
deliver the news, you know, at the second meeting, and when I've crunched the numbers and sort of can show them what their chart looks like, and actually that it's not down here, which is often people's perception, but
yeah.
actually it is, you know, with a few small changes, they can get, you know, onto a very sustainable retirement path. And it's quite emotional when people find that out.
What age do people tend to come to you? And what age should people come to you? Because I think that's a more important question.
Yeah, very, it's a really good question because when I set the business up, I'm in my third year now. I thought that all of the people that came to me would be sort of 60-ish, thinking of, really seriously thinking about retiring in the next 5 years.
Yep.
And that's what I was expecting. And to begin with, I suppose that's what I got as well. But actually, what I've learned is that, give me a 25 or 30-year-old, I can change their lives forever for no cost to them. I mean, I'm not a charity. I have fees, but they're really modest,
Yeah.
um, very low in indeed. But I can literally change their lives forever by them just taking a few educated decisions around, for example, their workplace pension.
Yeah.
What level of risk are they taking? And just changing that, and you used the expression already, but sort of moving the dial slightly makes a massive difference to
It's so
the
much
outcome.
easier to do, isn't it, when you're in your
Yeah,
30s than it is
yeah,
when you're in your
absolutely.
50s. That dial's going to move. It's compounding. And
Yeah,
like I was the same, by the way. In my 20s, like the last thing I was thinking about was my retirement. But now,
yeah,
sat here at 51, if
yeah.
I could give myself one bit of advice in my 20s, it's like sort it out then because it's going to be so much
Yeah,
easier.
I I
Like,
I I got some great software which sort of shows you where your trajectory is. And I was
yeah,
doing it the other day for a client's son, and it was like he jokingly said to his mum, who was starting to take control and look at her finances, "Oh, you've left it too late, mum." And so I said, "Okay, well, let's throw that back at him." And it's like, right, so let's assume a 30-year-old wants £4,000 a month in retirement every
yeah,
month in today's money, escalating in line with inflation for the rest of his life from the age of 65. Okay, so the target £4,000 a month from 65. And if he's 30, then he needs to invest £500 every month. But
okay,
that's enough to get him there. Okay.
yeah,
So if for people that are out there thinking, oh, it's okay, I've got money going into a pension, I'll be fine. Well, is it £500? And if it's not, and you're
okay,
30, you're not paying enough. And so get real, you know. But
interesting.
this guy was 22, and I said, right, okay, so if you started at 25, you only need to save £200 a month.
Wow,
Okay.
that
So the
difference is
money that you
huge.
save, that 5 years from 25 to 30 is the most important part, because that's the money that's going to grow. Okay. So little and often, and
Yeah,
the earlier you start, the better. And
yeah,
I just wish I could get that message out to more kids when they start their life and they see their mobile phone and their Amazon and Prime subscriptions and Netflix and Spotify as non-negotiables. Their investing in their retirement should be non-negotiable too.
definitely. The future wealth,
And that
definitely.
only works, by the way, if they're going into a direct to consumer investment, of which there are loads available, which you can do online, with low charges and
Yeah,
taking the appropriate level of risk, i.e.,
yeah.
stock market based investment.
Well, that's it. And I think, it doesn't have to be a pension, does it? Like, that's not like what
No.
we're talking about. We're just talking about investing into your future self. And like the biggest lesson I learned really was, you know, millionaires don't spend their own money on like big flashy cars. What they do is they invest in something that generates that money for them to buy that flashy car. They've still got the asset. And
Yeah.
I was like, that mindset was like, oh my goodness, like that is it. It's like putting stuff in places that creates you the money to be able to enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
And it's living
Yeah.
those few years that hard so that you can enjoy the fruits of it afterwards.
Yeah. Well, it's discipline, and there's lots of different ways of expressing it and explaining it to clients. But invest what's left, or sorry, spend what's left after investing. Don't invest what's left after spending. So and the other thing as well is when the thing that you want in the future is more important than the thing that you want today. So the thing that I would say is most helpful to all clients, but particularly to the youngsters, is to get a control of your budgeting. So how much are you spending per month? Um, and you should be recording that over, say, a 3-month period with no judgment, but just look back and think, oh, did I spend that much on subscription TV channels, which I don't watch, on gym memberships when I don't go to the gym. We're all guilty of it.
Yeah, yeah,
On Deliveroo and all those sort of things. And even if when you do that exercise, there is nothing left at the end of the day, that's fine. But when you get your pay rise, or you get a promotion, or you change jobs and you get a bit more money, you know and you understand that you don't need that money because you know now that you need X amount per month. And so if that equals what your current income is, well, then you can't afford to invest. But then a year later, maybe you could invest £200 a month, and maybe you put 100 of that into investment and 100 into just living,
yeah,
holidays, whatever it might be, because you've got to live in the now as well. Nothing wrong with that. But just get an understanding that you need to be controlling your money. So I use a really good acronym called SLAID, and it's not the 70s rock band. It's SL.
For those of us of a certain age.
Yeah, well, which we've fully disclosed there, haven't we? But it's SLIAD, and it's
Okay,
spend less, invest, and avoid debt.
nice.
And just to put the meat on the bone of that, so spend less than you earn.
Yeah,
Common sense when you look at it like that. Invest the difference, but invest into assets that are going to grow. So stock market based investments. And avoid debt means avoid bad debt. So don't put things on credit cards that you don't pay off at the end of every month.
yeah,
So mortgages, for example, is good debt. Everyone, most people need a
yeah,
mortgage, but don't have store cards and credit cards that keep mounting and mounting. You're paying ridiculous amounts of interest on.
yeah.
And that's a good principle to live your life by financially.
I have that story. So when I was a single parent and I was just starting work, I had a store card. And I
Yeah,
didn't earn a lot of money. And I remember crying at my desk one day because it had £2,000 on this store card that I could only just afford to pay off the minimum. And I was
yeah,
like, in my
yeah,
head, as a 20-odd-year-old, I was absolutely distraught because I thought there is no way on this planet I'm ever getting rid of this. I can't buy anything else on it. It was like, I'd been frivolous. I can't remember why it got so high. It was probably to do like clothing me and my daughter because I remember like which store card it was.
yeah,
And my boss came in and he was in his 40s and he said, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I'm not." And I just ended up telling him how upset I was about this store card that I had, and I was stuck with it. And he made me a cup of tea because that's what he always did when I was upset. He didn't know how to handle me, he just always made me a cup of tea. And then he came back
yeah,
and he said, if I lend you £2,000, he said, can you afford to pay me the £100 a year a month you've been paying? He said, and give
yeah,
me 2 months interest at the end of it. And I was like, absolutely, I can. Like literally, I'd rather pay him. He just wanted 2 months interest,
yeah,
knowing I was never. The interest was so bad on his store card, I was never going to pay it off. Whereas with
yeah,
him,
yeah,
I had 24 months. Like I knew that's
yeah,
exactly. And at the end, I'd
yeah,
paid him £100 every single month. And at the end of the the 20 months, by the way, he actually turned around and he said, I don't want your interest. He said, I just wanted to,
yeah,
you realize that that's what, it was costing you. And I have never had a store card
yeah.
ever again.
What
Because
an incredible lesson to learn.
yeah, and
You
and
know,
and,
that's
and
the
a
gift.
knight in
That's the
shining
gift that he
armor to
gave
like
you.
get me out of it as well.
Yeah. The money wasn't the point. It was the principle, wasn't it? So
It
what
was.
an incredible lesson to learn. And it does worry me in this day and age because everything's so instant and everyone wants something now and they're not prepared to save, they're not prepared to wait for it. And that's just things like, new clothes or new TVs or whatever it might be. So no wonder people aren't thinking about retirement because it's such a long way off in the future. It's just, it's not on their radar, not on their agenda, but they're missing the opportunities of just little and often.
It
And
is.
so the younger you start, the easier it is. Um, you know, and there, but I think it's important to say as well. Therefore, you've got people that are at an older age. It is what it is. They've left it as long as they have. But again, I do when I get into the meat of it with clients, and we look at what their charts look like. So the first thing is that, when they're down here, they're going to run out of money. It doesn't work. How do we get them from there to here, or
Yeah.
anywhere close to that? And there's three main sort of ways of achieving that. Number one is to reduce the charges. So if they are investing and also they are saving money, but they're paying through a financial advisor, for example, on average 2% per annum in fees,
Okay.
they can transfer those funds across to a direct-to-consumer provider. And we're talking about big companies here,
Okay.
very reputable companies, but transferring them across where you'd be paying less than 0.5% per annum in charges.
Your business is successful, so why do you feel so miserable? Here's the thing, success doesn't always automatically equal freedom. I see profitable business owners every day who can't take a holiday, who can't switch off, and they feel completely overwhelmed by their own achievements. Sound familiar? Well, I've created a simple quiz that pinpoints exactly why you feel stuck in your business. It will give you the clarity you need to move from being trapped to being free. Why don't you take the quiz now? The link's in the description below.
That's huge.
It is.
That will move the dial. Okay.
Right,
So
okay.
that will
On its
move
own, that's going to
from
move the dial for many people then.
absolutely that
Okay.
one action, which costs you nothing to do.
Okay.
Okay. Free. And it doesn't take a lot of hassle because the company receiving the funds will do all of the heavy lifting and all the work around that. So that's a massive thing that people can do. And the second one is to review your risk. So again, the reason that reducing your charges makes such a difference, no matter what your age, is because people think, oh, well, if I'm 55, for example, and I'm going to retire at 65, well, it's only 10 years. So is it really going to make a difference? Yes. But also because it's not just 10 years, because those charges are going to carry on into retirement. So if you're 55 and
Yeah.
you're going to go through to 90, it's a much longer time frame. That's why reducing the charges has such an impact. And for the same reason, if you review your risk, if you're invested in a low or medium risk investment, that money is going to stay there forever because it's going to provide your income for you going forwards for the rest of your life. So the the short-term volatility of the stock market, which is this,
Yeah.
is very dramatic in the short term.
Yeah.
But over the medium to long term, the stock market does this, and just ignore the volatility. The market will go up. The
Yeah.
market will go down. Both of those things historically have always happened. It's not suitable to say it's guaranteed,
Yeah.
but it pretty much is because it will go up and it will go down. But it's irrelevant when you're looking at the longer term. So commit to some higher return investments. And those two things will make a dramatic difference. For most people, get them from here, money's going to run out. They're destined to fail financially. And what does that mean? They're going to run out of money at an early age,
Yeah.
and all the horrific ramifications of that. To here, where they're never going to run out of money.
Okay.
So those two things cost you nothing to transfer to a lower charges and to transfer to a more appropriate level of risk. And then the third thing that you can do is to start, topping up your investment.
Okay.
And so if you're, you know, and often when I show people the graph, it's that third thing that will sort of make everything work. So that's where again you review your expenditure
Yeah.
and you look at what you could afford to invest and you start investing that. And even if that's for a 5-year period, it's amazing what difference it can make. And so those are the three main things that people can do that will improve their financial situation. So bearing in mind, that includes first and foremost, getting some clarity around their situation
Yep.
and then getting some real meaningful action points that will help them to get from A to B.
Awesome. I quite often hear, by the way, that business owners turn around and say, oh, it's all right. My business is my pension. And I have been guilty of that in the past myself, by the way.
Yeah.
Can I ask, what would you say to those people, those business owners that think that they're okay because their businesses, their business is going to like look after them in the future.
So, and that's a very, very common. I've heard it all my life. I mean, I was 35 years as an independent financial advisor. So I've been in this sort of business for like coming on for 40 years now. So you hear that all the time.
Yeah.
My my business is my pension, and that's fine. But if you've been in business for that amount of time, then in theory, your business is making profit. And if your business is making profit, your business is paying tax. And so to invest some of that money as a business, as opposed to an individual, can save your corporation tax if you're using pensions, can give you huge tax advantages. So again, little and often. Put that money into how do you get your money out of your business in a tax efficient way? Well, one way is to be funding pension contributions, for example. The
Of course.
company can fund pension contributions, and therefore the money isn't leaving the business in the same way if it was coming out to you in a dividend and then you're investing. So there's all sorts of options for you. So yes, your business is your pension, but make it work in a much more tax efficient way for you.
Yeah, I think people shouldn't just rely on that as well because we don't know like the business landscape that's moving forward, especially with AI and everything else. And many people have businesses that rely solely on them. And when they say that to me, I'm like, how? How is your
Yeah.
business
So
going to
what
be your pension when it relies solely on you because it's not sellable? So it's kind of like I just worry sometimes.
it's the question of using their business, because what happens if their health fails for a start? And what happens if something goes wrong with the business, through no fault of their own? We've just been through COVID, lots of really great businesses, didn't survive COVID for, you could argue, for no fault of their own. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's just little and often, which in most cases the business can afford a lot more than an individual can.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It is. So, for anyone out there who is getting like later on in life and they are worried about
Yeah.
that they've left it too late, what's one piece of advice for them?
Find out. Let's have
Okay.
a look, because you might be pleasantly surprised. And when I said earlier about, often people get quite emotional, I should clarify that emotional, that they are okay. I've had people crying. It's like, oh my God, I've been so worried about it. I've been really worried about talking to you to find out, because now I've got to sort of, find out what the situation is. And then they realize that they're okay. And if they're not okay, and I don't sugarcoat it, if the graph is still like this, well, maybe you could, if they were looking at retiring, at 60 instead of 65, it's like, no, okay, maybe you have got to work to 65,
Okay.
but at least now you know.
It's the
So it's,
clarity, isn't it? And the knowledge, I
yes,
think, that's
yeah,
in the important bit.
you can't just bury your head in the sand. Find out what your situation looks like, and that enables you to take control of that situation. Because there are two main outcomes. You've either got not enough,
Yeah.
um, in which case, and you've got to do something about it. And I help people to with those steps and how to get to utopia, which is never running out of money. And if you've got more than enough, well, what a waste that is. What if you hate your job and you really do want to retire, and you could? Wouldn't it be
Yeah.
good to know that?
Oh,
Or
that would be
maybe,
awesome to know, wouldn't it?
and that happens all the time. I've got clients that say, right, especially this time of year, it's like, right, do you realize you could give you a notice on the 1st of Jan or 1st of December and you're retired by the 1st of Jan? It's like, really? Well, you could
Wow.
if you wanted to financially. And whether they do or they don't is not particularly relevant. But when I've got clients that do that, I mean, it's joyous. It really is. So find out.
That's amazing. Right. If anyone would like to get hold of you, David, where can they find you, please?
Okay, so my website is, uh, I should know this, shouldn't I? My Instagram is
Oh, don't worry,
whole
we will
dot
put it all on the description in YouTube,
you
so don't worry. But
you it's whole dot David, my Instagram.
hold up, David.
I'm on LinkedIn just as David Hole, and my website is davidhole.uk.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Um, and that is the website's just about to be redone, actually. So there'll be a new website coming up by Christmas. I'm not sure when this, or by January. So I'm not sure when this will be released.
It will probably be
But
released after that. So yeah,
okay,
definitely.
so my new website, which will list all of the different ways of working with me, and I have sort of 1 hour consultations, free initial chat is really important. So it doesn't cost you anything to have a chat with me to see if I can help.
Yeah.
And then there's 1 hour consultations. There's an online course which I have, which people can purchase. There's a new proposition which I'm launching, which is called Get Your Money Sorted. Which is a sort of a mini version that really focuses on debt consolidation and budgeting and what have you. Or there's my main proposition, which is the financial health check. And that's really where you get the charts which show you where you are and then help you to get to where you need to be. So your money never runs out.
Awesome. Thank you. Have you got one piece of advice you want to leave for everybody just before we go?
Take control of your budgeting.
I think it is so important, isn't it? I like
Yeah.
it. There's
Just track your numbers, simple as that.
I use Snoop. Like it's an online thing. It's free and it tracks my, you
Yeah.
put things into budgets and it tells me,
Yeah.
like it gives me budgets. It tells me if I'm overspending. It's
Yeah.
brilliant. Like
Where you're spending
and
your
I'm,
money.
and I'm a finance
Um,
mentor, but I still track my budgets. I still make sure
yeah.
that I know where every penny is going, both in my
Yeah.
business and in my personal life.
Yeah.
So
It's so important. And then you know what you're dealing with. And then you can address and make changes, but with
yeah,
confidence. I mean, I signpost people to a free government-backed budget planning tool, but it's excellent. Really is good. So that's my one piece of advice: track your numbers, and then start thinking about where you could reallocate the savings effectively.
nice. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure as always.
And thank you for your time.
Lot of value. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Lovely. All right. See you soon.
Bye.
Thank you for watching to the end. I really appreciate it, and it shows that you are serious about moving your business forward. I want to share something with you. When I was little, I watched my mum skip meals so my brother and I could eat because she didn't have enough money to feed us all. That pain changed everything. I promised myself I would never need to rely on anyone else financially. I worked relentlessly towards financial independence. Even as a young parent of 19, I still worked. And once I achieved financial independence, I became passionate that everyone deserves the same. But here's what I've discovered. Successful business owners can feel financially trapped, just in a different way. And that's why I created the Money Metrics Academy to help you understand your essential business numbers in under an hour a week. No jargon, no overwhelm, just the clarity you need for true financial independence. Why not join the free entry-level membership and see how the community can help you? Let's get unstuck together.